Last month, when I was in Rome for the Ad Limina visit, we visited all the major basilicas, celebrated Mass, and prayed together afterward as bishops. When we were at St. Paul's outside the walls, we went down below the altar, and there on display are the chains with which Paul was imprisoned immediately before his death. I was so struck by just looking at those pieces of chained, linked metal that held the wrists of this amazingly prophetic apostolic figure at the very beginning of the church. Paul should amaze us because he started out as Saul. He was a Pharisee. He was persecuting Christians, thought it was this heretical movement that needed to be stamped out, is on his way to Damascus to put more Christians in prison when he has this mystical experience. He sees this blinding light and he hears this voice. And the voice says, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" Saul says, "Who are you, sir?" And the voice says, "I am Jesus, the Nazarene, whom you are persecuting." It's interesting that at that point, Jesus doesn't say to Saul, "Why are you picking on my friends? Why are you hurting my followers? Why are you persecuting my disciples?" He says, "Why are you hurting me?" So there we see already a clear, full identification between Jesus and the church. That Jesus is the head of the church, and the church is the body, and you can't have one without the other. A lot of people today would say, of course, you can't have the church without Jesus. But many people would say, I can have Jesus without the church. Just give me Jesus, just give me the Bible. Church is too much baggage, too much institutional history. Clearly, in Paul's experience at the beginning of his conversion, Jesus and the church are one and the same. It's a both-and proposition. So he goes through this conversion, he's baptized, Saul becomes Paul, and he sets out to proclaim the gospel to the Gentiles, to the non-Jews. Remember, there are no gospels written at that point. So he has no roadmap to go by when he speaks of Christ. He was not one of the 12. He did not know Jesus in the flesh, so he never heard Jesus or experienced his miracles or observed him in action. So I think what he says in Galatians is absolutely true, that the Holy Spirit taught him these things. He was given this infused mystical knowledge. And we see in his epistles, his letters to the communities that he founded, really the first theology of Christianity. Someone reflecting and kind of teasing out, what are the implications of this new faith? If I believe in Jesus Christ, what does this mean for the church? What are the sacraments? How am I called to live? What's new about the way I understand myself as a human being? So Paul is just this remarkable figure who suffered so much, but once he had encountered Christ, gave his entire life to bring the gospel to as many people as he could. So as we honor his conversion today, we realize that in many ways our experience of Jesus, our understanding of what our faith means, comes from the fact that this one man on the road to Damascus was converted. We can't help but think that God had a great sense of humor here. He looked down, saw the guy that was giving him the hardest time and said, we're going to shake him up and we're going to turn him from being a persecutor to being an apostle. And that's what we celebrate today in the conversion of St. Paul.